Mason Greenwood, discuss.
This is a very serious video, and if you're impacted by any issues in this video, we're going to leave some numbers at the end. Now, Mason Greenwood, the police and the Crown Prosecution Service wanted him to be prosecuted for 3 things. Number 1, attempted rape. Number 2, assault causing actual bodily harm. And number 3, controlling and coercive behaviour. These were 3 very serious charges. Now, the reason this case fell apart is that the witness or witnesses would not come forward and give evidence. So at no point has Mason Greenwood been declared innocent.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the police still want to bring this prosecution, the witness won't come forward. It's important to know that.
Yeah, and let's fast forward to today, because he's been spotted in London at Langham Hotel just 3 days ago. The charges have been dropped, and the girl spotted in the screen recordings and videos that a lot of you have seen was with her at the hotel, matching tracksuits, and she's pregnant now.
I think this is a very complex story. I want to get back to the most important thing here, Theo. Of 100 cases that are brought to the police that involve attempted rape and sexual assault, do you know how many actually lead to a charge? 1%, and even less than 1% lead to a prosecution.
I didn't know that.
So
Wow.
the first thing I'll say is that in this country, we are letting down girls, we are letting down women who are the victims of sexual assault. Unless you think that 99% of alleged victims are liars, which I certainly don't. And that's important to get into context. There's a lot of women out there, Theo, who are victims of rape, of sexual assault, and remain with their partners and live miserable lives.
Despite what's happened, the families are both very happy and are really looking forward to the baby's arrival. What do you think about the fact that they've got a baby now? What does that add to the situation?
Of course, we're dealing with allegations. See, for me, Theo, it all comes back to that initial video and those initial photos. This is how this came about. The alleged victim came forward on social media. That's the thing about today, Theo. Everyone has mobile phones. For some reason, the alleged victim felt she wanted to video this attempted rape. Now, we've all seen it. It's a horrific video. And in that video, there is a very angry young man who's trying to force a young lady to have sex with him. At no point has Mason Greenwood come forward and said, that's not me in the video. It's clearly Mason Greenwood in the video. If it had gone to court, maybe we'd find out more about that video. And there's some pictures of a young lady who is bruised, who is bleeding. I will never forget that video because it's vile. I will never forget those pictures. Of course, we can't speculate. It all comes back to that. Life is very complex, Theo, and sadly, there's women out there, there's girls out there who are in abusive relationships, and for one reason or another, they remain in abusive relationships.
That's the saddest thing. We can't tell. It's very difficult. With everything going on at court, we don't know what the girl feels, what she may be trapped in or not. We don't know. Mason released a statement after the charges were dropped. He said, I'm relieved that this matter is now over. I find it, first of all, weird that he's got a platform to speak on in this situation right now. And second of all, I wouldn't be relieved about anything. We've all heard what's been heard. The last thing I would be right now in a situation is relieved. There's a lot more to this case than just charges, than what's in a court case. People know your true colours now. And that really left a mark on not just the community, but football in itself, because he's still hopeful that he can still resurrect his England career. Now, Southgate's come out and completely said he's never playing for England again as him being a manager, and I stand with Southgate.
Yes. Now, a lot of people will be screaming at the screen, innocent until proven guilty, and that is a very important concept. But Theo, there's too many unanswered questions here, in particular the video and those photos. Now, if Mason Greenwood is ever going to play football again for Manchester United or England or anyone else, he's got to come forward and he's got to address what's happening in that video, what's happening in those pictures, and he's got to then show absolute remorse. Within a week, Nike had dropped him as an athlete. Pez had dropped him from their game. He was dropped from the FIFA game. So sponsors acted very quickly to say, we will not be associated with Mason Greenwood. Manchester United are in a very difficult legal position, Theo.
But they didn't drop him. He's still got a contract with their club, earning £75,000 a week. He still occasionally trains at Carrington to keep his fitness up.
Does he?
And it's one of the options that he might return to the squad. The Norwegian first tier, Japan, Iceland, South Korea, and then other smaller countries like Nigeria and Benin, whatever. But the realistic option there for him is the Norwegian first tier and MLS, if he was to join a team mid-season, like tomorrow. With a situation like this, if Mason Greenwood went to play in America, it would become national news because the US would not accept it.
I'll tell you something.
I don't think he'd ever make this move to the MLS.
I'll tell you something that will never happen. He's never going to play high-level football in the United States of America.
I can't see it happening.
For reputational reasons.
There you go.
Now, I'll tell you what this is all about, Theo. Why is Mason Greenwood even being talked about as a future footballer? It's because he's very, very good at football. Imagine if he'd been the kit man at Man United. Imagine if he'd been a worker at McDonald's or an accountant at KPMG or somewhere. He'd have been kicked out. He'd have been booted out straight away. Man United are only considering keeping him because he's worth 50 to 100 million.
Yeah,
now, I know Manchester United are in some ways doing the right thing. Legally, they have to be very, very careful. They're doing an internal inquiry, Theo.
Yeah.
And there's different standards here to the law. They might fire him for bringing the team into disrepute. My view on this is absolutely straightforward. He should never play for Manchester United again. Do you know why?
Should he ever play football again? Should he be allowed to play in a foreign league? And do you know what? I agree with you. But I think he should still have a chance to play elsewhere. It's difficult to give an answer right now as we don't know what's going on. It's hard to make a decision after the charges were dropped. What will Mason do next? He's already making statements. He's already active on Instagram again. His clear intentions is to play football for Man United. But I think if he ever stepped on a football team again with Man United in the Premier League, he would be constantly booed. He might even be attacked by fans when he goes to different stadiums. I don't think it's safe for Mason Greenwood to play in the first tier of English football again.
Imagine if you're a female supporter of Manchester United, of which there are millions globally. Imagine if you've been a victim of sexual assault, rape, or what have you. How would you feel if that man, Mason Greenwood, is wearing a Manchester United shirt again?
Yeah.
How would you feel if you're a part of the Manchester United women's team training alongside the men?
Can I just
How
add?
would you feel if you're a young girl in the Manchester United Academy and you see Mason Greenwood rewarded for what he's done?
It's a disgrace.
And the point we made in the last Thogden React, people look at footballers
They idolise
and they
footballers.
idolise them. They are the heroes. If Mason Greenwood gets away with this, it's a disgrace for football.
The women's team have come out and said they will be disturbed by the prospect of a Mason Greenwood return to Manchester United. Of course, there's a few people, which I find crazy, a minority that actually want him to return, give him a second chance. It's going to have to take a lot more than after what we've seen to go play football for that club again.
What about the alleged victim of this alleged assault? You know,
Yeah.
my thoughts are with her. Now, I know nothing went to court, so we've got to be very careful with what we say. I have no sympathy for him. I saw that video. I saw those pictures. And unless it can be really explained away, that was Mason Greenwood in those videos.
So the news 3 days ago is they're willing to marry each other. That the alleged girl in the videos and screen recordings and Mason Greenwood are going to marry each other. Is this a situation where they're doing everything they can to show the world that they are back together and they're stronger than ever?
I don't want to speculate about what's going on in someone's relationship. All I will say, sadly in this world, there are a lot of abusive relationships, and the abuse is usually towards the woman. Women and girls all over the world are abused within relationships, within marriages, within partnerships.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, the law of this country and most countries does not protect girls, does not protect women. Manchester United cannot be associated, Joel Glazer or whoever buys Manchester United cannot be associated with an alleged rapist.
And that goes for the same for any club with morals. It goes bigger than football.
I hope, Theo, that if Mason Greenwood signed for Bolton Wanderers, you tear up your season ticket.
In situations like this, it's bigger than football. So comment down below, what's next for Mason Greenwood? Thank you for watching this video. We're going to be posting a lot more on Thogden Reacts with different news stories. This one was very difficult, but being here with my father does make it easier. See you in a bit.